Hi, I'm Neil Sackmary.
Hi, I'm State Trooper Sean Hagstrom with the Nevada State Police Highway Patrol Division, PEIO. Please stay tuned for the next episode of Trooper Talk.
And together, we can make a difference. Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studio. We have someone very special and someone who's even more special, aren't you?
That's one way to say it.
We have two people that you've recognized before. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Sean Hagstrom. I'm a State Trooper with the Nevada Highway Patrol Public Affairs, and I'm the Public Information Officer.
And you, sir, 2 weeks in a row.
That's right. I'm Chris Clifton. I'm a sergeant with Parole and Probation, Nevada State Police.
And you, sir.
I'm Investigator Bricky. I'm an arson investigator with the Nevada State Fire Marshal's Office.
And what's your name?
And this boy right here is Charlie. He's one of our arson dogs.
Now, here's what I want to go into. Okay? There's a difference between the bomb dog and the arson dog. And so, what is the training that you go through with Charlie? And then what makes him so special?
So the training for the handler between the arson and bomb dog is very similar. We are trained to observe the dog. So as you can see, Charlie here is kind of energetic. Search dogs, generally speaking, they don't have a lot of obedience on them. Their job is to go and search and find things and smell with their nose. So for the handlers between the bomb dog and the arson dog, it's not that different. We're trained to watch the dog and just identify when he's on an odor to indicate that something is either illegal or present in the scene that we're interested in. As far as the dog, we're explosive detection canines. They're more endurance search. So they might have to go search a large arena and spend all day doing that for public safety needs. He is a more specific evidence locating dog. So his scene's going to be much more narrowly confined, but much more high energy and much more involved within specific areas.
What is he primarily looking for, without going into specifics that we give away, in a generalized setting?
So he's looking for any kind of accelerant that may have been used to start a fire, an illegal fire. So that can be, I mean, everybody's going to understand gasoline, but there's a lot of other things that can be used to start fires, and he's trained on all of those. So generally anything that would be normally found in a arson scene, his nose picks it up. Good boy.
And so, he's wonderful. We remember him from the last
Yes,
one,
we
you
do.
know what I mean? But as excited as he is, he knows what he's doing.
Yes.
And so, this is what people have to know, that you have a specific task for what it is that you do. And he has a specific task. And when people try to evade, they might be able to evade a person, but a dog is different than a person.
Correct. So, as our chief likes to say, if you start fires illegally in the state of Nevada, we're going to find you. His nose is more sensitive than laboratory equipment. So there's been many times where he will find an odor that contains an accelerant, but the lab will not even be able to pick it up. So his sitting is a very strong indicator that an accelerant was used on scene, and he can smell through all the burnt debris, anything that might have gone into that fire. He knows when he's working to ignore food and all the other things, and he will look for that accelerant until he finds one, if one is present on the scene.
And what is it that you're carrying right now?
So this is his toy. This is helping me keep him a little bit calm. As you noticed, as opposed to last time, he doesn't like it when I sit. He wants to think he's a lap dog sometimes.
Yes.
And he likes to crawl all over me, and that's not always good for business, but so he's got his toy here. This is just a little reward. This is his little mini reward that keeps him distracted, but mainly he works for treats. So because on a fire scene, there's a lot of dangerous stuff around, I can't just send him throw this ball into a fire scene because he might get hurt or injured in some way.
Yeah.
This helps him burn off energy, but as far as working, he works for food. He gets paid with food. So when I go into his pocket, he'll pretty much instantly, hey, Trent, sit, down, up. Yeah, good boy. He knows what he gets paid with.
This was very interesting because he knew that it was time to work, and he knew that it was time for business.
Correct.
Now, generally speaking, if you go onto a scene, how long will he work before he gets a break?
So he's not an endurance worker, like I was saying, the difference between an explosive canine and an arson canine. when I go onto a fire scene and the first thing that happens is I determine, based upon my training and experience, if I believe a fire was intentionally set there. And then I will define an area where I believe that fire started, because that's part of my job. It's something called an origin and cause. And so if I say that this side of the building was used to set a fire, and I believe that it was an accelerant used there, then I will run him very specifically in that area, maybe a little bit outside, because we do have room for error. We're not 100% every time, nothing is. But he works in that specific area, but a very detailed search within that area, looking for the accelerants, because he's looking for something as small as a drop of accelerant that didn't get burned remaining in that scene amongst what could be 3 or 4 feet of debris. So he does not do a long search. It's usually a very short, intense period. And then he'll go up, get rested until I feel like I need him again.
And so you really work together, which is what people have to understand, that you have your expertise to find a specific thing, and then you bring the dog in.
Correct. For Charlie to sit and alert on something, it's not necessarily what we would call probable cause. It doesn't give us the right to arrest somebody, but it does indicate evidence is potentially there in that scene. So that's what he is there. He's to give us our best chance of finding the evidence that we need to prove a crime of arson. And he does a good job too.
We think it's fantastic. Now, tell me about your truck.
My truck is a Ford F-250. It is a beast of a thing, but we kind of need it because we don't just work. We actually very rarely work within the city, unless one of the local municipalities, so like Henderson Fire, Clark County Fire, and they all have their own arson investigators here. They call us out sometimes because we have a little bit more law enforcement side of things, but they also work with Metro and the local agencies. We primarily service right now rural Nevada. So most of my fires come out of Pahrump, Ely, Tonopah, those kind of places. And also, there's a lot of, I'm sure as every local knows, there's a lot to Nevada outside of the towns, just not a lot built out there sometimes.
Yes.
So we will have arsons, fires, vehicle fires, unfortunately now and then a fatality where it's set out in the middle of nowhere. So we have to be able to get out there with our truck. So we have a very overbuilt truck, but it is marked. It is a police vehicle, and it can do all the things that normal police cars do. It just goes a little bit further off-road.
And I see you carry a firearm.
I do carry a firearm.
Explain that to me.
So just like these gentlemen here, I am a Category 1 peace officer with the state of Nevada, so state police first. You can think of it as I am a fire detective. My specialty is in fire. That's what I look for. I look for fire crimes and fire-related crimes. NRS 477 is the NRS that the state fire marshal works underneath, which covers all the arson responsibilities, and then 205 is the arson laws. Property crimes, and basically I've just been extra trained. I go through a lot of training. Last year I was in training at least a month and a half out of the year for our specialty to learn all the trends of what's going on and how to properly locate an origin cause fire and try to catch the bad guy. Good boy.
And do you pull people over?
Very rarely. I try to keep my traffic stops to things that need to be handled right then and there. I will if I see something that needs to be done. If it is a public safety issue where somebody is speeding in a reckless manner, running red lights, things that are above and beyond,
Of course.
maybe what normal law enforcement officers would do, because that's not my main mission out there. Do I have the authority within Nevada to do so? Yes. But is it something that I focus on? Not really. My job is to look for arson crimes. So we do enforce the fire zones sometimes. So you'll see me around schools sometimes enforcing fire zones because not a lot of people are there, and I know how schools can get. But that's also for the children, because those fires and no parking zones are...
Explain that to us. What is a fire zone?
So in Nevada, a fire zone can be, well, the fire zones specifically are marked by the local fire divisions. So those are there in case there's an emergency for medical facility or medical ambulances and fire trucks to be able to access the scene and do what they need to do. So sometimes when well-meaning but not always the best informed parents decide to park in those zones, they don't realize they're restricting access to emergency responders. So sometimes we'll go out there and enforce those rules, or at least help the local Clark County School District, whoever else is out there, enforce those rules while they worry more about the traffic stuff on the street. Then the city can also do red zones, which are basically up to the city or the county, whoever wants there, that are just no parking zones. but those are usually there for pedestrian safety. So if it's a red zone, you shouldn't be parking in it, and especially if it's marked with a 4-foot sign.
And do they blow past you at 130 miles an hour?
They try sometimes.
They do.
I'll just say they try.
Right.
You want your ball? Here, go ahead. Good boy. Good boy.
I know that we only had Charlie for a few minutes, and you wanted to put him in the truck. And
yeah,
stuff like
he's
that.
gonna get antsy here.
Last and final question.
Yes, sir.
In the truck, how do we know that he is safe in the truck? Explain
So-
that to everybody.
In our vehicle, we have 2 safety things that you can think of. We have an exterior marking that is marked. My truck's actually marked a canine vehicle, so that way any pedestrians or any people nearby know that there is a canine in there, which means that they must treat it safely. And if you actually interfere with a police canine, you can receive citation or arrest. It is against the law. Additionally, inside we have a heat sensor because we get very hot here in Vegas. And after a certain degree, the truck will sense the internal temperature. It's left running, the AC's on, but if it reaches a certain internal degree, all the windows will drop, it will alarm and notify anybody nearby to make sure he is safe. So he is well protected and well taken care of because we love him.
We love him very much. All right, Charlie, you got to go.
Say bye. Want to say bye?
Do I get a kiss?
All right.
I miss
Good
you
boy.
too.
I'll be
miss
right
you.
back.
I'll see you real soon, okay?
Let's go. Good boy.
Here's the question. Have you ever had someone come into parole and probation because of arson?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Okay, so
This would be something to talk about too.
So
yeah.
all right. So I want to know, okay, and then we're going to get him to come in and sort of engage. In
Kind of
this.
tell how they make an arrest, not to get into familiar things, but then when they end up going to him, he can
Right.
go on from that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
So
Hey,
the-
arson's a bad thing. You think you're going to get away with it? This is what our investigators are for.
So
you know?
does he make an arrest?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
he's
can
the law
make
enforcement.
like if somebody was found, he would make that arrest, and then now.
Well, he
because-
does the investigation and arrest, and then it goes to him.
Yeah.
Okay, there you are.
Come on back.
Perfect. Yes, come on back.
All right,
We're very
have a
excited.
seat.
All right. So the question.
Are we
right
on
after
though?
right after you
Are
left.
we on?
Johnny, is he good?
Okay, we're good.
All right.
I gotta tell him my joke. He didn't get it.
Right. So tell him your joke.
So you said the lab doesn't pick it up, but he's a lab.
Yeah, he's the best lab.
Yeah.
He brings the smile to everybody's face. Okay, and when you left, I said that some people have kissing horses. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
I know about his farm.
Right. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I asked, "Do you make an arrest?"
It depends on what happens with the case, but if we feel an arrest is necessary on scene, yes, we
Like
can make
you
arrests.
personally.
Yes.
So you would go and you could put not that you couldn't, but I'm just saying like if someone finds guilty, then you could go to them and you would make an arrest and you would put them in handcuffs and like that's the end of it, right?
Correct.
And then my second part to that, because I had no idea. I mean, you don't think about it, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is this, that I asked Sergeant Clifton, I said, so on your end, have you ever seen an arson person on parole and probation? And his response was yes. So explain that.
So I mean, obviously arson's a crime, right? There's different degrees, which he's more familiar with than I am. But the a crime is a crime, and you can be sentenced to prison or probation for that, right? So we supervise people on both parole and probation for arson crimes. I mean, especially if it involves death, that's going to be much worse, right? It might be a homicide case. But I personally remember one from years ago where the guy was out in rural Nevada and he burned up his mobile home. He
Was it for insurance purposes? Or?
well, according to him, no. He said that he was just upset because I think his wife had died in the house and he just wanted to get rid of the house. To which I was a bit confused because he owned the property. It was his, but he was still charged and convicted of arson. I don't know how that works. He could probably go into that one. But I mean, yeah, he burned up his house and he was on probation for it. So maybe he can shed some light as to the reason for that. But
Put me on the spot.
Go for it.
Yeah.
You don't have the case, but the
Yeah.
point is, he was mad with his house.
But
burned
he
it up.
ended up on probation.
He absolutely did. And actually, we have had this many times, especially when I started back in 2011, 2012. We'd get people on for burning their cars up because the economy was really bad back then, and they'd have high loans, right? And they'd take their car to the desert, report it as stolen, and burn it up. I'm sure you see that.
Yes.
And that is insurance fraud. So you'll either get convicted of the arson or the fraud, right? One of the two. Or
Right.
maybe both if you're unlucky. So that's something that we actually see quite frequently.
I never even thought of, like, again, like one of the things that I love is that you never think about these things. And so that's one of the benefits of coming to the show. So I want to get Trooper Hagstrom on, but burning of cars, right? Like going into the desert, like
Yeah, Neil, you know what? When I worked up in Mesquite area, every few months we'd get a car that was out there, and what happened is they'd still have the rag, everything. They left when they started the fire, but it'd go out. It wouldn't burn and all
on.
Yeah, and all the evidence would be there because it'd have their fingerprints,
There's a
all
lot
their
of
other
people
stuff.
that are bad at starting fires.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how many that I've gone to that, they park them out in the desert and they try to make it look like it was stolen, and they might punch something out or whatever, like, ignition and stuff. And then they'll take rags and they'll stick it in the engine compartment and try to light it and to destroy the car because, like he said, they had high payments. They don't want to make the payments anymore, or they can't afford it. Maybe they lost their job or other circumstances, right? Or they just don't want it and they report it stolen. So now you're making a false police report. You're committing insurance fraud. You know what I mean? And on top of it, you're committing arson. And one question I do have for our arson investigator,
Yeah.
I know a lot of places nationwide, I don't know if it's for Nevada, there's no statutory limit on arson, the crime itself, right? You could be convicted of arson any time in your life. There's no deadline or statutory. Do you know or not?
I believe it does still fall into statutory limits. So
Okay.
it's close to like the homicide thing though, where they're depending on the case and the nature of the case and when law enforcement discovers it, kind of affects how the statute limit. It's pretty tricky actually.
Okay.
So
And that's probably more through the AG's office anyways.
Correct.
But
Because
this
for them,
is what I'm
that's
saying. Like, like sometimes, and we hope the best for everybody. That's why we love the parole and probation, because they try to rehabilitate to the best of their ability by food and shelter and jobs and, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is to get someone so that they are in a better place, which is what parole and probation does every day. Sometimes people are pushed to their limits and they don't know the correct way out. And so I would just never think, like, I remember being 5 months late on my car payment when I was 20 years old, and the lady was calling every day and going, listen, you better make a payment tomorrow or I'm telling you they are coming to pick up your car. And my car got repossessed one time in my life because you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't afford to make the payments. And so you have the car there in front of your house in the middle at night, and then when you come the morning after, it's gone. So, but I would never, again, not that I'm better or worse, right? But I would never think about taking the car out to the desert and trying to set it on fire.
And Neil, this is one of the things that we need the public to understand too is now you're looking at 3 different crimes, right? And they're
Yeah.
hefty because arson alone, you're looking at prison time, right? And I'm talking it can be hefty prison, especially if you start a fire and it's close like Mount Charleston, you burn half of Mount Charleston down. And now you got houses and people and you put people's lives in danger. If you're behind on payments, you're having difficulty or whatever, you can always call and see what resources can help you. But
Yeah.
the worst thing, I mean the easiest thing to do is just take the car back to the dealership and give it back to them. Yeah, your credit's going to get dinged. Yeah, they're not going to make you pay those extra payments. You're done with the car, or you might have to depend on a contract.
Right,
I don't know how it
right.
reads, but that's the worst that happens. Now, why would you put yourself at risk at falsifying police reports and possibly getting an arson charge or just insurance fraud? Can you imagine trying to get another vehicle when you commit an insurance fraud, or the kind of insurance payments not only for your vehicles or for your house? Some insurance companies may not even insure you after you commit some of these crimes.
Yeah.
So, and you know how that works sometimes. I mean, you've heard of people where they can't even get insurance anymore.
Yeah, no, you
because
have to
of
go
the
to, you have
actions
to
they
go to
took.
like Fred's
Yeah.
Insurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
You know what
those
I'm
are the
saying?
things that people need to think before they take action on that. Yeah, it's painful to do that, you know, to take the car back, or like you said, in your regards, have it repossessed.
Yeah.
It's a done deal, right? But why would you commit crime after crime and then worry about putting yourself, and now you thought you're losing everything, just a car. When you go to prison, you lose literally everything. You lose part of your time in life, because that's all we have, really, Neil, when you think about it, is our life, right? I mean, we have nothing but time.
Right.
So you don't want to take that away for what? For a vehicle or something? So those
No,
are the
but
kind of things that people need to understand.
People need to understand.
Yeah.
Now, I want to get the photos and stuff like that, but let's talk about something else, because Sergeant Clifton sort of asked the question, and I want people to understand.
Thanks.
So just like with different crimes that Trooper Hagstrom might arrest someone for, right? Or Sergeant Clifton has different levels of, A felony or B felony or this or that. In arson, explain to us that there are different levels of that as well. You don't want to get convicted for any of it, but just as Trooper Hagstrom said, you could commit one of these crimes that you don't realize that you're doing, and then you put, a certain area at risk.
Correct.
They just had this in Henderson. I don't know, and I don't know what happened there, but I'm just saying they had the guy last night, on the TV, on the news, explaining that he woke up and there was a wall of fire.
People don't realize how dangerous and quickly fire can spread. That's the thing. People are used to their fireplace or a small barbecue, and they think they have fire under control. And when you start putting fire out into the natural world with things like wind, the dry vegetation out here in Nevada, they don't realize how quickly those fires can get going and get out of control. So even people that think they're being safe often are making mistakes with the fires that they have that can lead to serious damage or even death. And that's one of the reasons why we prosecute arson so heavily, is because when you knowingly start a fire in a place, it doesn't necessarily even mean that you always had
Bad intentions.
well, that's part of the statute, is you actually have to vex somebody here. But we can articulate, there are other fire crimes too, outside of arson, that can be charged with carelessness with fire. And not to get too broad off the subject, arson though has several degrees, and it's largely looked upon like how did the fire affect things? What was the intent to burn? So if you intended to burn a house that was occupied, that's a first-degree arson that could lead to a homicide. That's like trying to kill people, essentially. It's a very serious crime. Sometimes people think, like, this property's abandoned, I can burn it, whatever. That's not the case. That would be looked at as a second-degree arson, because fire can spread. And if you burn a house, generally speaking, houses are in somewhat kind of proximity to other houses. Now you're affecting other people's property and habitations, and how do you control a house fire? It takes trucks and trucks full of trained firefighters to even get one of those things suppressed. You can't knowingly control that, so that's an arson. When you burn grassland, that can lead into other people's properties or cause damage to wildlife or public structures. So that's also considered a lesser degree of arson. There's many charges, even to burn personal property, yours or somebody else's, over a certain amount that's out of control. That can be considered an arson charge. It's a very low degree of arson that has less penalties than the first degree arson, but it still could be considered an arson charge depending on the nature of what's going on.
I want to get into the fact of, before we get to the pictures, recruiting. Okay? And you have been with parole and probation since you started. You have found a lot of comfort in that. You make your own schedule. You have your own take-home car. You live outside of the city. There's a lot of wonderful things that Nevada State Police does. He works for Nevada State Police. And so he works for Nevada State Police. 3 completely different areas, but they all work for Nevada State Police.
And we all train together too. So I don't know when your DTs is. Mine is beginning of February, but it's probably coming up. I think they're doing it alphabetically this year. I'm not sure about Fire Marshal, but you know, we've trained together. Berkey used to work for PMP as well. He transferred to Fire Marshal 6, 8 years
About
ago.
5 years,
5,
4 or
whatever
5
it is,
years
I don't
ago
know.
now, yeah.
So he's been there for a minute. His sergeant also came from PMP. I don't know, probably 8 years ago, something like that too. So there's that transfer aspect too, right? So his sergeant, I know, is going to be retiring pretty soon. I am not putting in for it, although I could put in transfer to a fire marshal. Talking to him, I know it's a lot of work, and he gets call-outs, and I'm like, never mind.
But you laugh, but it's the truth,
Yeah.
right? Like,
It
you're
is.
happy with what it is that you do. I mean, like that. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so, you know, at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning, he could easily be called out to Ely for a fire. That doesn't sound very appeasing to me. However, Berkey might want to do that, right? With our rural guys, like Hagstrom used to be out in Moapa, right? So he might get called out at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday for a fatal crash, right? It does happen.
Or rollovers.
Our rollovers, yeah. With PMP, we even have call-outs too. We have our house arrest guys who go out and call-outs, right? I don't do that because I don't want to, because I get to pick and choose what I do at PMP, right? So yeah, there's a lot of freedom. Like, I know he starts his day in his driveway too, right? That's fantastic. He gets a take-home car, take-home dog. I mean,
Take home dog.
The kids love them.
but point being, right, like the benefits are across the board as far as any agency you go to. If you want to work for Nevada State Police, you're not going to start with fire marshal for the most part. That's a coveted job. It's hard to get, but you can work your way there, right? You're not going to get PIO either, right? If you're brand new, but it's a coveted job.
Good.
You get to sit on the comfy couches and meals, right?
Right.
But I mean, you work your way there. You earn your time, and you can get those spots.
And that's the great thing, I think, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
We all start either highway or parole and probation, generally speaking, sometimes at Capitol Police. But depending on what your interest is, there's a lot of places in state police that you can go to kind of hone your interest and your skill. I liked fire stuff. I enjoyed the fire department. I enjoyed the nature of police work within the fire department. So I ended up coming over here. I enjoyed working for parole and probation. It was really, really great. I just wanted to try something a little different, and I was able to move from there to over here. And there's many different Nevada
And
division.
keep your benefits.
Correct. My seniority, my pay, everything just continues to go in that scale. NDI, one of our agencies, same thing. Our detectives that deal with homicide and narcotics trafficking. There's many different places within Nevada State Police that you're able to go to and find your interest and find what you enjoy doing.
And when he says about his interests, he's got best of both worlds, because
Yeah.
you know he loved that fire side,
Right.
and he still wanted to be
that's
a law
exactly,
enforcement
yeah.
official. So he's got both of it. So he kind of did his homework and said, "Hey, this is what I want to be, a state fire marshal." And this is one of the good things being with the Nevada State Police, is we talked about it a little bit on here, is the ability to transfer somewhere where you want. You might start in parole and probation or highway patrol and look at some of these specialty units, and within each unit, there's state fire marshals that don't have canines, but he chose to have a canine. Same with like highway patrol. You have canine, or you can go to the mate team, or we have different investigation teams that you can go, or specialties that you can go to, and that's with every division that we have for the Nevada State Police, which makes it really great. And then you don't get really stagnant in your career. Let's say you're doing highway patrol for 7 years, and you decide, hey, I want to go parole and probation. I want to have weekends off. You know what I mean, or something like that.
Right.
So because I have a family, and now I want to spend more time with my kids or do something like that. You have those abilities when those openings come up. Being a member of the Nevada State Police, you can make those changes. And we've talked about too, Neil. What's great about it is, let's say the wife doesn't like the heat anymore in Las Vegas, right?
Right.
And we want to go to Reno, where we got beautiful mountains and it's colder or whatever. If those transfers come in, you can transfer around the state, which is great. And people that live in the rural areas, I really want to get that out. We're always looking to hire people that live in the rural areas that want to stay there, because we want to train you and keep you in those areas, because you already grew up there. You don't want to live in the big city, or you love your area. We'll make sure that you stay up in that area, and you can be a trooper or parole and probation, because we're looking for people like that.
Would you ever live in the city?
That'd be a tough sell.
Well, he had to pause. Did you see that? There was a long pause there, Neil. There's a long pause.
it's like
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So I like the big city benefits, right? Like
Of
I
course,
Oh,
of
everybody
course.
does.
No, of
Like, I
course.
like being close to an airport.
Do they
close to a
deliver
grocery store.
DoorDash to you?
No.
They do not, right?
No.
Like
No.
no Uber Eats.
Well, that's
none
an
of
extra
that stuff.
$50, sir. You come out there.
Yeah, Uber Eats is a no. DoorDash is a no.
How close is the nearest supermarket?
Oh, for me, it's like 10 miles. It's not far.
Oh, it's not so
But
bad.
point being, like, I like the benefits of having that nearby. There's
Right.
places in Nevada, like I don't know, like Austin, places like that, which he's been there clearly with that look. That is the middle of absolutely nowhere on US 50. They're like, not
And
going
Neil,
there.
he's far enough out of the city that he can see all the stars at night.
I can't.
Right.
From his house. You know, which is nice.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
But,
you know, so.
You know, like those guys who are from like Ely or even Austin, Winnemucca, Elko, whatever, right? Those rural areas. We have offices there, right? They have offices there. Fire marshal, not so much, but I mean,
they travel.
They travel.
That's right,
out
they
there,
travel
right?
all
will
over.
travel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the majority are in rurals, right? So if they had someone who lived in Pahrump, for example, probably do most of the work out of Pahrump. Their office is here in Vegas, but I'm sure they could probably make some arrangements to where you're not in Vegas all the time, right? As far as P&P, we have offices across the state. Highway has even more than us because it's a little more specific, right? But like our Pahrump office supervises all the way up to Tonopah right now because we don't have a Tonopah officer. We need a Tonopah officer, right? But we haven't had one in a couple years because it's
Yeah.
hard to get recruitment out there,
I
right?
told 'em right there.
Yeah, we don't have an Ely officer.
There you go.
Right,
You
we-
know what I'm
we
saying?
need
So,
Sound
I mean,
healing.
people that watch this in the rural areas, or they know somebody that lives in the rural
No,
areas,
this is what I'm
contact them.
saying. 100%.
And one good thing about State Fire Marshal, hey, yeah, they're directed maybe more in the headquarters there, like Carson City, Reno, or Vegas, but they travel a lot. Let's say they have an investigation in Ely. You know, the state's going to put them up at a hotel, and they're going to do the investigations that they have to get it done, to get it completed, and then they'll go back to their offices and further an investigation, whether they have to make an arrest or not. And sometimes some of this takes a little bit of time, but they do it methodically, and they're very well trained. Last time we had them on, all the schooling that he went through, you know, like our
You
commercial
remember the
enforcement
books and
officer.
stuff like that he was telling us?
Absolutely. I mean, they go through intensive training, and you really have to be on your game when you do this kind of job. So, you know, my kudos off to him.
Right.
You know, for what they do. There's not many of them out there, but we really appreciate having them as part of our department because that's another asset that we can use. Like a division investigation when they're doing a murder case
Yes.
or something else. Sometimes it might be an arson where they have a body and they try to get rid of the house and the body and try to make it look like, oh, they got caught in a fire when it was really a homicide prior. These are the kind of things that they kind of look at, and it's amazing work that they do, and hats off to all these guys.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
we're glad that you're here. Thanks a lot for coming. You
Happy
know
to
what
be
I'm
here.
saying? We were very excited. We were all hanging out with the dog, and I'm telling you, it's fantastic. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's see what Trooper Hagstrom brought for us today.
Every week we're going to talk
Yes,
about the
let's
Southern
talk
Nevada
about this.
Task Force.
I want to know about
And
this.
yesterday, Neil, I got to go to a briefing with at North Las Vegas. They picked different ones where we talked about going around the valley, right? We could be in Henderson, North Las Vegas, Metro, Highway Patrol. We'll set up they'll set up a briefing area, and all these agencies, because it's a multi-agency, right? Together, there'll be Henderson, Highway Patrol, and all these guys. I got to do this yesterday. I went to the Southern Nevada briefing at the North Las Vegas Traffic Bureau, right? Yeah. So I went out with them, and these are the two pictures I took yesterday. So those guys up there, that's a sergeant, or actually Officer Navarro with the North Las Vegas Police Department, and he's using the LiDAR up there. So I caught him, and this young officer, he's learning he's going to be a traffic officer later. So they're teaching him how to do the LiDAR and what to look for and everything. And then down below, I went on numerous stops. I went with all the different agencies, and I put one of our Metro, Las Vegas Metro motor officers on a stop right there. I liked it because it was covering the plate, so I didn't want the plate on there. So it was kind of easy that we didn't have to scrape the plate, but he had his motor right behind it, so I thought that was a great photo. But Neil, this is just the stats from the 5th to the 11th. This is just 6 days of stats for the Southern Nevada Traffic Task Force. They did 127 speeds. Let me see where the red lights. I believe that's 14 instead of 4. I can't tell on that because of where it's lined up. But these are some of the things. They got 2 vehicles towed, and they made 1 arrest. That was in 6 days. But this is just a traffic task force. We have other things going on right now. We got the Joining Forces campaign. And January 13th through the 31st, we're working on speed enforcement. So that's another group that's doing it because they're getting paid by the Office of Traffic Safety grant money. So that's on top of the traffic force. So when I'm going to work now, this last week or two, everybody's driving the speed limit. It's amazing. Have you been on the 215 lately?
I went this morning.
It is
I just
amazing.
got my car back.
I was like,
and, yeah.
I couldn't believe it because now we're starting to see our traffic really slow down. And normally it takes some time to do, but these guys are all over the road. You never know where they're going to be. And this was at westbound I-215 by Pecos in the North Las Vegas area because we had the meeting over there. They'll be somewhere tomorrow, you know what I mean? But they're hitting it in the morning and afternoons. And I'm starting to see a significant change in people's behavior out there, and that's what we need. You know what I mean? And that saves lives. Not only from fatalities, but we are also bringing down the injury crashes and some of the smaller crashes by people just obeying the speed limit. So,
I know, like you said, you don't primarily do the speed enforcement and stuff like that. But speed is a definitive thing that people in the valley need to slow down.
Correct.
It doesn't matter what kind of car or truck you drive or what, you know what I mean? People need to understand that. And so Trooper Hagstrom brought this up last week. I thought it was tremendous. I said I wanted to see this every week so that we can see what people are doing during this task force.
and one thing I might add, Neil, the last one we put up it was like, a week and a half, and the stats were staggering,
Tremendous.
right? And this is like almost a week, and they're cut down like 1/3. Remember all the tows and all the stuff they had, and then they had like
I looked at the pedestrians.
They had 13 arrests
yeah.
and 9 DUIs, and look at how everything has been going down week after week. And when these get smaller numbers, that means the job's getting done out there. We're not seeing that, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
usually people think that, oh, you got more arrests or more of this, we're doing more work. We don't want to do that. It's the opposite. We want lower numbers. That means everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And that's part of the job, showing that this job is actually working.
Yeah, I think it's tremendous. You know what I mean? And when people blow past you, right? We had I think Sergeant Keene on his pickup truck.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, yeah, they blow past me at 120. Boop, lights come on, and that's the end of the game. You know what I mean? And so, not that that's his job, but that is part of the job. You know what I mean? In totality. Let me ask you a question, and I've been asking. I don't know if I asked you yet. I have to ask you now. I'm going to ask you next.
Okay.
Sergeant Keene, he does certain things when before he gets prepared for working, right? Did I ask you this question
I
yet?
think so.
I did, right. So my question to you is, without getting into specifics, do you have a certain area of your house that you go from, you said about you have kids, from father to officer, or like a certain, like he didn't get into specifics, but like he listens to a certain type of music, he has a certain room, he goes in and he transforms from husband to now officer.
Yes, I do something similar. It doesn't always work because sometimes the kids are already home when I arrive home, depending on what they got going on after school and things like that. They know that when Daddy comes home, Daddy has all his police equipment on him, my gun, my duty belt, whatever else I may be carrying. And I don't want to have to jump into dad mode and scold a child in my uniform if something is going wrong, because kids make mistakes too. And I try to keep it as positive as I can. So that I usually come in the door, and I like to go up to my room. I have a place where I put all my gear out in a certain way. Everything comes off, and then Dad's home. And once the uniform is off and everything's off, Dad's home. Dad's here to play and deal with whatever needs to be dealt with. But from that time, from walking in the door till getting up there, I kind of don't exist in the house.
Right.
So, because I don't want my children to see me as the cop all the time. They see me as dad, and I don't want them to mistake or misunderstand how things are coming across.
Right.
So there is a threshold I try to keep. Doesn't always work. Kids are kids, but that's kind of my ritual.
We like to show humanality. You know what I'm saying? That, like, you know, the troopers and all that are regular people. You know what I mean? Like Sergeant Clifton, you know, I met both of the kids as soon as they are born, and they come in and they hang out for a moment and all that type of stuff, and it's very special. You know what I mean? We have Johnny on the tractor up at Sergeant Clifton's ranch, but he keeps cutting himself out, so we can't get that put on there. You know what I mean? But, you know, Sergeant Clifton, you know, we laugh and we joke about these things, but, you know, to be a good officer and trooper, you know, you have to have that line that, you know, that we've found. You know what I mean? I never thought about it until I started asking, which is one of the things I love about the Trooper Talk is that, you know, again, nothing scripted, and I just think of these crazy things in my mind, and that's just what I do. But it's very special because we talk about officer wellness. You know, we talk about these things that make us very happy, and sometimes in your job, you deal with something that is not happy. Sometimes you have to do something maybe to a young child that you have a young child, and it brings you to, like, man, like, you know, like when I watch the TV show and they always talk about that when they have an unrestrained child in the back seat, and it makes officers like crazy. You know what I mean? Because they have small kids and they associate that child to their child. You know, so we need officer wellness. It's very, very important. And one of the things that the parole and probation does when it comes to people that have done bad things or maybe only done a bad thing once in their life, maybe they did an arson because they didn't know a way out, and all of a sudden now they realize, like, holy smokes, I'm going to prison. You know what I mean? I'm not a bad person. I didn't do anything. I just, you know, I didn't know what to do. And now they come out, and now they're on probation or something of this nature. But it's very easy for a person to be sent right back.
Yeah, it is.
And so one of the things that you do is that when it comes to the parole and probation is that you always try to look at the best and how do we fix this person as best as we can, because you don't want them going back. They only go back like if they're not following what they're supposed to, right?
Right, yeah. And to kind of take it whole here is, you know, we do have that game face, like you'd say in like sports, right, where it's this is my serious face. You're not getting to meet the real me. The real me is more on display here on the TV show, right, than it is in when I'm dealing with our offenders. But like, you have to have that mentality because you have to take things seriously, right? Like, when people make mistakes, right, you might call it a mistake. I might call it a violation or a crime, right? People don't necessarily always realize that things are actually crimes, right? Setting something on fire, oh, that's so funny. Oh, no, actually, that's arson. Right? Like, they don't realize that necessarily. There's things I don't know that are crimes sometimes, right? Like, I'm terrified at my house because I have like leaves plethora, right? Because I have 6 or 7 trees, all the leaves fall off. Right? I'd love to burn them, but I don't want to burn the desert down either, right? Like, I don't want to get charged with arson, so instead I just put them in the dumpster and move along. But, you know, we have that professionality that we put on, right? But especially on the P&P side, right? You're going to get to know us as people a little better than you would on like the highway patrol or the fire marshal side, right? Because their interactions are very short for the most part, right? A ticket takes what, 5-10 minutes probably at most, unless you're doing a DUI, which takes several hours, right? Because I want to get to know you as the offender, you're not going to get to know me as the person, right? But I'm going to get to know you. You're going to get to know me a little more, right? I'll put on a little more of a friendly face. But when that serious moment does come, that's when there's no playing around, right? This is my game face. This is what we're doing. You don't have an opinion. Your opinion is my opinion. Sorry. For me, in my world of the realm of what I do as a sergeant over sex offender unit, and Bricky used to work in sex offender unit too, he knows that the worst day possible is when you walk into a house with a sex offender and you find a child. That is no good, because the vast majority of them are not allowed to be around children at all. And then you walk inside and there's a 6-year-old kid. What's going on here, right? That's what game face is on, right? That's a very serious matter for us, and that's something that as a parent, I'm sure the two of these guys can express that too, is like, what is happening here? Because it takes that more personal tone of like, you're a sex offender, you're on for a crime against a child, and there's a child here, right? Last year, one of my officers found a 13-year-old runaway at a house. What was going on? And when the officer got there, right, this is how she found him. She's searching the offender's bedroom, and there is just a bunch of towels on the floor, and out of the towel, there's a foot. Whose foot is that? Lift up the foot. Oh, there's a child here. Right? So in that case, we ended up contacting
Shining on the car.
What's that?
That's the car. Excuse me one moment.
Yeah, of course.
You were speaking about the heat system. There it is.
Yeah, just see, we got that live. Johnny, make sure that we got that live. You know what I'm saying? That's
incredible.
fantastic.
That's incredible.
From the sun.
All right,
Nice
go
out.
Anyway, we ended up contacting the Crimes Against Children. They took over the investigation. The Crimes Against Children is more of a multi-agency affair. They took over that investigation. But yeah, that's a very serious moment. That is probably our worst nightmare, right? And that does take a personal toll on us, because you don't forget those things. You really don't. I'm sure Hagstrom does not forget one of the fatals he was on, right? It's real, it's raw, right? And it's something you never want to see.
Especially when it involves children.
Yeah, involving children, right?
And this is one of the things, like when I watch the TV show on the weekend, you know what I mean? That you know, it doesn't happen all the time, but you know what I mean? Like, they'll get somebody and they'll say, how old is that kid in the back?
Yeah.
Right? And they'll go, 2 years old or whatever. Why is the child unrestrained? Well, I was just driving to the supermarket. You know what I mean? The father had the car seat, and so
Unacceptable.
It takes one moment that could be completely out of your control. You can be the world's best driver. You could be a NASCAR driver or a stunt driver or whatever. But, right, Bricky here, who's Joe Citizen, might not be a NASCAR driver or a stunt driver. And if your kid's unrestrained in the back and he just comes into you, it might be no fault of your own, but then what happens?
Right.
You could easily roll over and your kid's dead, you're seriously injured.
and I'm going to bring it to the fact of that's why these stats are so important.
Yeah.
Because last week they were horrible. You know what I'm saying? And so it was all the DUIs.
And that was at the beginning, the very beginning. We got to say that.
And at the very beginning. But like this, I mean, listen, you're always going to have something. But to have this is really fantastic. So anyway, so you didn't miss anything.
I wanted to add something with him.
Yeah, tell me. I want to know.
Just so getting back to the kids and fire and all that kind of stuff, I would like any parents watching to know that we all know kids like to play with fire. That's not a secret. Kids are interested by fire. Adults are interested by fire. It's not a secret. But if you have a child that is showing fire-setting behavior, they can reach out to the State Fire Marshal's office, because we want to, like you said, with parole and probation, we want to stop these things before they get to a point where somebody gets hurt or somebody gets injured.
Well said.
In Nevada, many of the jurisdictions have youth fire setter programs. That if you know that your child is playing with fire and doing things or partaking in risky fire behavior, you can contact us and we will get you in contact with your local youth fire setter specialist, and they come out to you and they help work with your child and try to mitigate those risks that are going on with your kids. So hopefully they don't find in a situation where a fire may start and somebody gets hurt. So I just wanted to put that out there. You can contact the State Fire
This is
Marshal office.
fantastic.
Yeah, well said.
Well said, and you
Yeah.
know what I mean. Like we need to get people when they're young. So
And children are so impressionable.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying? And it's the parents' responsibility to take care of their children. And parents got to understand too, they're liable for their children's actions.
yeah.
You know, you got to remember that you're a parent. Your kid gets a hold of a gun or sets a fire. They're under your care.
Yep.
And you're responsible. You're solely responsible. You know, we were talking a little bit about, you know, children being transported with no child seats and everything. I've been to fatals where little girls in the middle of the interstate, same age as my daughter, dead, like 5 people dead. I see these images. One I can't never forget is I was on a crash where I spent 45 minutes doing CPR on a 4-year-old. It's the only time that I ever called the hospital to see if she made it or she did okay, but I kept her alive. And even though AMR and everybody else, the specialists, the Life Flight, they had me keep doing CPR. I thought they were going to take over for me because I was exhausted. It takes a long time, you know what I mean, for them to get, because I'm out in the rules. It takes a long time for them to get out there and even get the helicopter out there, but they had to put the IVs and make sure she was stable enough to get her on the chopper to get her to childcare, you know what I mean? But then she ended up coding 4 or 5 times, the nurses told me when I called the hospital, and she ended up passing away. But I kept her alive long enough to try to see if they could do something, you know what I mean? But you never forget those images, because how many people have to actually do a CPR on a 4-year-old?
Right.
You know what I mean? So those are things that, you know, in law enforcement you're going to see, unfortunately, and you're going to see certain images that you'll never get out of your head. So, but I'm gonna bring on. We've talked about this later on. We're gonna have Kendra. She's got to find a time to fly down.
Yes.
She's does the health and wellness for all of Nevada State Police, and she can tell you a little bit. And they've worked with UNLV, and they've done a bunch of studies and stuff. And our director was on, and he's very passionate about it. We've talked about that, health and wellness, and so that'll be a good segment down the road here, and,
Yeah.
and it's coming, Neil. So we just got to wait for her to get down here.
We are
So.
thankful for that, just as we are thankful for
Yeah.
both of you guys coming in too. You know what I'm saying? But it was great what you said. I almost want to have you do it again. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you can do it at the end.
I might have you do it
Absolutely.
at the end. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? All right.
This is Sean's safety tips for the day. Hey, no, I wanted to bring this up again, Neil, for the HOV, because
I thought
you
you were
know,
supposed to drive in there with one person and a fake dummy or something.
you know, in a lot of states, people have done that, and they've caught them with fake dummies,
Yes.
and they've gotten tickets for it, right?
Yes.
So I put it up on here, you know, from 6 to 8 in the morning, where the HOV, where you see the diamonds painted on the roadway. They also have the signs that say 2 or more passengers.
Oh,
Motors-
passengers.
Yes.
Not a person and a dog.
No. Well, yeah, no.
Okay.
That doesn't count as a passenger, but
Okay,
they'll
all
probably
right.
try to say that.
Right.
But another thing is motorcycles are able to use that. But there's not to be any other vehicles like trucks or anything. Trucks are not allowed to use the HOV lane anyways. And then that's in the morning hours. And then from 4 to 6 p.m., that's when it happens again on that. You can get ticketed. You can be looking at approximately a $300 ticket if you get stopped for driving in that lane. A lot of people, they start running late, or you know, they don't plan ahead like they should be planning ahead.
Yes.
Or let's say something happens, but they get stuck in traffic, like you see this traffic right here, and they decide, hey, I'm gonna just jump on the HOV lane. You know, it's just me. I got to get somewhere, and that's usually when you're gonna get caught. If there's another trooper that might happen to be in the left lane or behind you, you might be getting stopped. And in order to get to that lane, you got to wait until lane separation. Those are the
Yes.
lane splits, right? So let's say you're driving up and you're on this second lane, and I'm giving this as an example. You're not allowed to cross the double whites. That's not what it's like. That's another ticket on top of your HOV lane if you decide to use that. These are some of the good HOV rules. You can always look it up on the Nevada NDOT website. They can show you who's able to use it. You know, the buses, emergency vehicles, motorcycles, and 2 or more passengers. These are the things that aren't supposed to be on there. The trucks, 1 person. So be mindful when you're out there driving. It even says this on the HOV lanes. We've all seen these signs right here. It says violation. I said 300. It's 250. I apologize. But $250 fine just for
a lot
using
of
that
money.
lane. Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
We love the Sean safety tips. This is I don't know. He's almost on 100 episodes,
Wow.
and so I would say probably 60, 70 episodes or something like that. We've been doing the Sean safety tips. It's something that he likes to highlight so that people understand different things across the valley and things of this nature. Talk to us about what just transpired that you had to run out of here. I want to hear.
So as we all know,
He knows it works.
Right.
you just saw it work live on screen. So we were talking about Charlie is well taken care of.
Right.
That heat sensor in the car, because it senses the difference between the outside heat and the internal temperature. When that sun starts blaring on that car, it can send that temperature through the roof. And as I'm sure people have seen news stories about animals passing away in vehicles because the car heats up, they don't realize how hot it can get in those vehicles. So it was overcast and nice this morning, but the sun just decided to come out and start warming up that car, and it set off that alarm. And I get text notifications, and my car starts honking, and I got to go make sure that Charlie's okay. And he's fine. He's doing good. He's like, "Why is the car being loud, Dad?" But he is well taken care of, and that's what just happened.
He's probably laying down there in the air conditioning right
Yeah.
now.
So do you go there? Do you start the car, or do you?
It stays on the whole time.
So
I nev-
you just go there and just hang out with him, make sure everything's good and all that.
So when he's in the car by himself, the car is always running. That's the heat sensor keeps the car running. I can have an engine idle, my keys aren't in there, but the car's secured, but it's running, and the AC systems and all that stuff goes. So I just go out there, I make sure that he's not overheated or anything, give him a little bit of water, give him some attention, which he's always for, and then just make sure there's enough airflow going through there that he's okay. So
Yeah, very cool. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
I mean, you know, like you think about the fact of like being able to have something. Well, I mean, we tape, but like live on the thing that it actually like went off and worked. I mean, you
Hey,
know,
it shows the public that they're serious about how they
it's
take care of the
it's very
canines.
cool. But you know,
Absolutely.
the thing is that not to get into specifics again, because people, when it comes to animals, really take that to an excessive area. You know, we do live in Nevada. We do live in a place where it's cool in the morning, and now it's 72 degrees. And people need to be mindful when it comes to their animals, because one of the ways, I'm sure you could go to prison or certainly to jail or certainly have some contact with some form of law enforcement that you wouldn't want to have after your pet not being here. But these are real things and real consequences, and so people need to understand that the parole and probation is a very serious business. I watched again last night. I watched the program that follows the police every weekend.
yeah.
And I think of Sergeant Clifton, every once in a while, because it happened again, where this person was in the passenger seat, and the officer comes up and he says, license and registration and insurance. He's on the passenger side, right? And he says, hey, to the passenger, give me your name. And he says, I don't have to. And he says, why would I have to give you my name? And the officer said, you're not wearing your seatbelt. I need to identify you in order to have this go away. Like, I'm not giving you a ticket. You know what I mean? Or, well, I'm not giving you my thing. I'm not giving you my thing. You know what I mean? Like, and then all of a sudden the door opens and he says, I'm not getting out of here. And he goes into expletives and all this type of stuff. And they yank this person out of the car. And after they do that and they go, well, are you going to identify yourself? I'm not identifying my... Okay, well, you're going to sit in jail for 5 days as John Doe until they can figure out how to fingerprint you and all this. Okay, fine. He gives them the name, and they go, what's the deal? And he goes, well, I have a warrant from whatever state he was from. And he goes, well, they going to come and get you? And he goes, they're not coming to get me. And 5 minutes later, they said, sir, just wanted to let you know that state is coming to get you, that we don't play around. Maybe other states, they have their own rules and regulations and whatever it is that they do. But when you work for Nevada State Police and you're under parole and probation and somebody does things that they do and they skip town, it's not the place to do it.
Yeah, so we've never talked about the standard conditions of probation, and you shall not associate with anyone on probation, parole, in a correctional institution, or as a convicted felon. Basically, that's what it says. So you have to pick better friends too. You might not know someone's past history, and that's one of the reasons. Like if you're on probation, we're going to go to your house. We're going to say, "Oh, who's this who lives with you?" Right? Oh, they have 4 felonies in the past. Did you know that? Oh no, you can't live here now. Sorry. Right? So associates is one of the conditions. As far as the warrants go, so when we issue a warrant, it's issued into the National Criminal Index something. NCIC is what it's called. I don't remember the last C, but that's a federally run program. And when we issue that warrant, it goes with a scope of extradition. So let's say that we know that Neil has absconded to, I don't know, Iowa. Okay, and I know you're in Iowa. I can set that scope of extradition for Nevada and Iowa if I want to. I can set it for all 50 states. It's 53 jurisdictions we'll extradite from. So we can set it to whatever we want to. It just depends where we want to pay to get you from, and we will go get you too. I don't know where you've been.
I've been a lot of places.
You've been a lot of places, right? I've been some fun places too. I have actually been to Iowa 3 times for an extradition.
Plane trips.
Plane trips, right? Yeah. So I find it fun. I don't know, Bricky
Do you
might
carry
not,
your
but
firearm when you go on
Yes.
the plane?
we do. So what it is we travel fully armed. There are certain restrictions as far as the FAA is concerned of what we can and can't have on us, but we do have a firearm on us. And you would not necessarily know that we're carrying said firearm because we're concealed the entire time. We don't go dressed like this. I go dressed like a civilian with a long shirt, or usually a sweatshirt. Sometimes even in July I'll wear a sweatshirt just because I don't have to cover my stuff up, right? When we actually transport the offender on the plane too, they are chained. So they keep belly chains on them like you'd wear in the jail. And they're clanking through the airport. Now we try and conceal that the best we can too. It's not always possible because sometimes offenders' body shapes just don't
Do they
allow
have to
that.
go through the metal detector?
No. So
You guys.
So law enforcement, when they're flying on official duty, we have to submit several days before we leave through the TSA. And the TSA needs to know who we are, what our credentials are. They need several forms of identification. Our agency head, so in this case our chief, has to contact the TSA and say these people are flying at this time on this flight and this is where they're going. So all that information gets relayed to them. So we go up to the TSA and we say, hey, we're flying officially today. We give them it's called a confirmation number. We give them their confirmation number, and they cross-reference that with what they have on their end to make sure that we are who we are. We have to give them 2 forms of ID. They verify everything. They check out our badge. They look at our official documents, and then we're allowed to go through without going through TSA. When we have a prisoner, we also verify the prisoner's identification. Sometimes when I was in New York City last, they asked the inmate all these questions, and I'm like, never seen this before, but they wanted to know who he was, where he was from, what he was doing there, right? So they kind of gave him a little interrogation too to see what was going on, and we went right through. So, and with that too, once we get to the gate, we talk to the gate agents. We have to give the gate agents more paperwork. Usually it's a triplicate form that they have to give us back, and then part of that triplicate goes to the captain. The captain usually wants to talk to us too. So, and the captain has the final say. If the captain says, I don't want a prisoner on my plane, we're stuck. It has happened where we get stuck. And this too, if there's by chance 2 inmates flying on a plane, one of you might get cut to the next flight. It happens. It actually happened not too long ago. So
Wow, the captain says no.
the captain can say no. And I think legally speaking, there can only be 2 on a plane anyway, on a commercial flight.
Do you sit? I mean, this is very interesting. Do you sit in the first class?
I wish. No, we're sitting just like this with the 3 wide on the very last row of the airplane,
Oh, in the very back.
very back. Yeah.
And so do they, like if it's a longer flight, do they offer you pretzels and stuff like
Oh, yeah,
that?
yeah, and a lot of the times,
Like the inmate could have pretzels too?
I'll talk quickly about belly chains versus handcuffs. Handcuffs are very restrictive, right? They keep you back here if you're in front. Belly chains give you a little more freedom of motion, so they can actually kind of go like this and eat their food. I will intentionally get them food that they want. I'm not going to buy them a turkey sandwich. If they want Wendy's, we're going to Wendy's, man, because I want them happy. Because a lot of the times these guys have been in prison for a long time or they've been in jail for a long time, and they're like, I really want McDonald's French fries. Cool, we're going to McDonald's. I'm good with that. We're given a certain amount of money we can spend on lunch. That's part of our budget for the extradition. If they want a candy bar, I'm buying you a candy bar, man. If you're happy on this flight,
'Cause
great.
you want them happy when they're. You're saying you're agreeing. I mean, like
He's done it before.
again. Let's before we get to the next thing, but like you've worked on parole and probation before, right? So you've done these things.
People are people, and
Yeah.
if you can get voluntary compliance by giving a little bit, it doesn't take anything from you. It's not disrespectful. You're giving them a little bit of rope. You know, at the end of the day, you have control and you have a job to do, and you're trying to make it's a human in front of you that has human wants and desires, and you're doing the best to do your job and do what you need to do because of the choices they've made, and make it the smoothest transition for everybody. So there's been many times you will get a lot, as they say, you'll get a lot more bees with honey. So I think most POs try to handle things that way.
And I want to say the last one I did, which was before my last kid was born, but it was we were flying back, and I always try and choose a specific airline because they have in-seat video screens, and they'll give us headphones. So I'll tell the offender, what do you want to watch? And I'll pick whatever they want to watch, give them the headphones, and it's like, bye. And they can, I will let them sit there.
Snooze, whatever they feel like doing.
Watch the movie, get a Coke. I'm fine with that, right? But when we got back to Vegas, right, we get out of the airplane, this guy, he changed. He realized, crap, this is real. And when we got in the car, he says, are we going to county? And I'm like, we are. And he just starts mother effing us. Got super angry because he realized at this point, like, we're not
Like
playing
the game
around.
is over now.
Game's over. We're going there, and we almost called what's called a Code 5. When you get to CCDC, Code 5 is when they have to bring out the camera and the chairs, and they're it's when the inmate goes crazy. Fortunately, he did not, but he could have done it on the flight, right? He could have been like, I'm not going. He could have forced us to land the flight somewhere we weren't going, right? So that's what we're really trying to avoid. That's why I'm pretty much your best friend on extradition, because I want you to be happy and cooperative and enjoy your time on the flight. Because I don't want to have to land in Salt Lake City instead of Las Vegas because you decided to act up. Because then I'm stuck in Salt Lake City with a prisoner.
But we're still getting them there.
You're still coming
going,
to
yeah.
Vegas. Hey, you're
You're
still
still-
flying back.
Right.
Yeah,
People,
yeah.
right.
Don't
You-
misunderstand. It's
Right.
still
You
getting
will get here. It's just going to be in a
Yes.
different way.
Whether it's another plane or a car, but then
Yeah.
you got to look
And-
at charges and you got to look at extra stuff that's going to be piled
Yeah.
on you
Yep.
for committing that. Because
Yes.
now you had airline, you're disrupted all the airline and everything else, and now you're costing money, time, everything else, and you'll have additional charges.
Those fines
for
get
you.
assessed to,
And
yeah.
it's very possible. It hasn't happened to us, fortunately, that I'm aware of. But if they had to land that plane, it'd be very possible that the local PD is coming on and pulling that guy off and going to their jail to face charges there, and then we'll come get you from there.
After
Right.
you already did your charges,
Yeah.
so you're just going to be buying more
Yeah.
time and more problems.
Interfering with the
so if
public
people are
fight.
listening to this and you're thinking about going to jail and doing that in the future, that wouldn't be wise, because if you want to have another felony or misdemeanor charge, depending on what they charge you with in that jurisdiction, and then you're going to serve all that time, and then guess what? We're still going to fly out and get you from after you're done doing your time out there, and with your extra charges, and come back out.
And
So.
let me just say this. This can all start from driving recklessly on the road. You could be the nicest man or woman in the world, but all this could start your life down a negative path because of one reckless act or one reckless arson act or one messing around with some kid or something. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like all these things that like could, not that they're minuscule, but they could be smaller. You could end up on the wrong side. And if you end up on the wrong side with the Nevada State Police, they will come and get you.
Yep, and
Oh,
you know
yeah.
there's consequences to every action. So if you choose to do that, nobody makes you do that, right? That's on your own free will. So if you choose to go down that road, we're still going to win at the end game, no matter what you're going to do. So that's why we always want people to comply. Just listen. There's no arguing on the road or whatever. That's what court's for. So we just want the public to be able to comply and be respectful to others out there. That's the whole thing. We all got to live with each other, right?
Yeah.
You know, our kids go to the same schools. We do the same things. Go out to eat and do all that. We're not robots, but we have a job to do. And you know, nationwide, we're a nation of laws, and they have to be upkept. Because if we didn't have the police, Neil, it'd be total chaos, and nobody wants to live under that kind of
No.
rule. So
I never thought about the fact of taking, like I said, like, you know, I watch the thing and I always think of you, you know, when they take someone back and they're like, all right, you know, that's from that state, and he's like, you know, and they take him, but like, I never thought about the fact that like, you know, the guy wants a cheeseburger and you're like, where do you want a cheeseburger from? Like, we just want to get you on the plane, get you back here so that like,
and it's a safety for them and us. You know what I mean? We want to make sure that they get safely there for their trial or whatever they got going on. So
I always say that I couldn't be a law enforcement officer because when I see danger, like I'm running the opposite way. But like I couldn't even think about like the mentality that it would take to like do the job, and then like you said, he might see somebody for 10 minutes. Maybe it is a DUI, so he sees that person for 3 hours or whatever it is, right? But then he never sees them again.
Right.
And for you guys, it's like I'd be in the fire marshal too. You know what I'm saying? All right.
Well, we had this last week, Neil. This was Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, and we actually all the metro area got together with our vehicles, and we were invited to T-Mobile Stadium for the Las Vegas Golden Knights Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And here's some photos with North Las. We're with the cheerleading squad here, of course. North Las Vegas guys, Metro, and myself, and then you know we got all of our cars lined up. So we got to meet people from the public, not only from the public but from all over. We have people from Canada, people from visiting all over, and they got to see our cars on display going to the hockey game, which was really great. I even met some people from London, England that wanted to try coming to a hockey game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Vegas, we're the city of entertainment around the world, and people love to come here, and we get a multifaceted facet area of around the world people here. And it's kind of interesting who you meet, because I met a bunch of Canadians that came up, and they're like, oh, we don't have this in Canada or do this and that. And then, and like I said, I met some people from London. I think there were some people from China, believe it or not, out there. And it was amazing to just talk to people, and they got to see something and know that we had Law Enforcement Appreciation on January 9th last week. We kind of talked about it a little bit.
We did.
But we were invited, and I wanted to show you some photos on that. So.
Trooper Hagstrom, don't let him fool you. He likes to show off his car.
Oh,
Right, you know what I mean? It's like over here, it's over there.
That's a
You know what I'm
trooper
saying?
thing.
Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him and Louis like to argue whose is better. You
I
know
mean, I
what
don't
I'm
know. How
saying?
did it look next to that Cybertruck?
Right.
You know what? Actually, if you talk to most people, they liked our car better than the Cybertruck.
Oh,
to be honest
yeah,
with you,
okay.
but it does get a lot of people looking at it. You know what I mean? Because it's new. It's a wild vehicle, and that was Metro's Cybertruck on the very end over there.
Right.
Yeah. So.
I do like how your truck is labeled, though. You know what I mean? Like fire marshal, Nevada State Police, like it tells people what it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? And so when we talk about the fact of like your vehicle versus his vehicle, it's not made for speed. it's made for a completely different thing that you've touched on earlier. So let's get into a little bit more on the specifics of your truck. Do you have the radar in your truck?
We do not in our vehicle have any radar mounted.
Uh-huh.
However, radar is not needed for traffic citations necessarily, so the public's aware there's a thing called pacing.
Right.
It's easy to tell you're exceeding the speed limit if I'm going at the speed limit and you blow past me.
Right. How about the license plate reader?
We do not have a LiDAR system in our truck.
But how about the computer? You have the computer the same as
We currently do not have an MDC in our truck. Our trucks are mainly equipped with scene safety equipment for us, because we might be out in the middle of nowhere with a burned down structure that's about to fall on our head, and all the equipment that we would need to be safe in that scene. So extra water, helmets, fire turnouts. So we look like firefighters sometimes when we're on scene, because we have a full fireman's turnout. Breathing
like
apparatus.
the whole system, the Scott pack and all that stuff.
We have SCBA systems. We don't carry the tanks with us, but we have filters and breathers and stuff we do, because we're not usually going into a hot environment. If the scene's still hot, generally speaking, we're not going to go in there until suppression is said it's safe to go in, because our job's an investigation side. We're not in there as a suppression side.
Okay.
They have their equipment varies slightly from ours.
But you have a mask that
correct.
like will filter the bad air from.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Correct. And usually the truth is, when I'm on a scene, generally speaking, there'll be either highway with us if it's a vehicle out on the road, or like Nye County if it's in their jurisdiction, or whatever jurisdiction it might be. We'll have the fire agencies with us. So we have other resources around. So we try to equip our vehicles with what we feel is necessary to accomplish our mission. And for us, that's largely going into a scene, collecting evidence to prove a crime, and keeping ourselves and the public safety at the same time. So one of the biggest things, and I tell people sometimes when they talk about the danger I deal with in my job, is I left the danger of P&P and chasing and never knowing and going into people's houses and what you're going to encounter, into worrying if the house is going to kill me if it falls down on me a lot of the time. So that it's a different mindset.
Because of the structure.
Correct. Fire structures, everything's been compromised. So there is a great fire investigator who works in this valley that has experienced a building falling on him. And it's no fun, and that's a very real threat that not only law enforcement, fire, all these guys face on a daily basis. And we got to think, you never know where a threat's going to come from, and it's not always the person. It could be the building that you're in. So we try to plan for those, because that's largely what our mission is. I have what I need to do. I have citation issuing equipment. I have my Brazos system. I have that kind of basic police gear that I carry with me. My emergency plates for active shooter situations and things of that nature. But my car is more tailored towards the fire investigation side of stuff. So that's what I'm doing. And the K9, keeping Charlie safe.
Yeah. Trooper Thayer, they offered him the Mustang, and he did not take it because he wanted his SUV, because he said that he gets to put his cones and this and that and all the things that were more important than the speed.
And he makes a lot of arrests. So the thing is, having that cage in there, we can take arrests. And people don't understand that with the Mustang, we can make arrests and we can place them in the front seat. But if somebody becomes combative, guess what? We got to have another car come out and transport. So that creates a problem for us, because guess what? Now you got two troopers off the road.
Yep.
So that's why Thayer didn't want that. He's out further out in the rurals, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he doesn't want to have to, tie up another trooper, do all that stuff, because he's a very good trooper. He's always on his game.
100%.
So that's one of the reasons that he didn't take it or whatever. So it would have been good for the speed enforcement down there.
It would have been good for the speed enforcement.
I actually have a question for Bricky.
Yeah, I want to hear.
I'm curious, how does your evidence collection differ from mine? Like, what do you have specialty for fires that I don't?
Well, I mean, sometimes the stuff is very similar, so we still carry paper evidence, plastic. A lot of the times, with technology being ever prevalent, we carry things to protect electronic devices that may have survived the scene that will give us information to secure that evidence. We also, because sometimes it's the fire debris that is the evidence, or what's contained within the fire debris. So we also carry paint cans, which are not uncommon, so we will seal those paint cans, and that captures any
paint cans.
Yeah, that will capture any fluids or any things that you wouldn't want to put in a paper bag, or because fire's full of
Right,
pokey,
right.
wet, nasty things sometimes.
For later testing.
Correct.
When you send it to the
Exactly.
lab. Yep.
So we carry a lot of stuff. I would love to have a cage in my car, but my car is stocked to the brim with equipment. The only cage in there is for Charlie, and it's his comfort zone.
That's very interesting. A paint can. You know, I had a customer come in, and he came in with, and he asked for a cart, and he brought the cart in, and he had dripping paint cans, right? And we were like, okay, you know what I mean? Like the guy comes up to the window, he has like 10 of these things, and they're dripping paint. And I'm like, okay, you know, how can I help you? So he reaches into the paint cans and pulls out bags of silver. And
clever.
he said, who's going into my garage and stealing paint cans? like, you know what I mean? And you think about it, and you're
Well,
like,
a lot of people do graffiti.
like,
you never know.
Yeah, like nobody's doing that, right? And so, like, anyway.
He should probably put it in oil cans, because some of these youngsters for graffiti, they probably
Right.
take
They
those.
probably would.
Not
And
knowing
then
that's
they're
it.
running off with this 80
It's
pounds
still
of silver. You know what I'm saying?
That's a heavy paint can right there.
We talked about it last week, and we didn't get a chance to say it to you, but happy Law Enforcement Appreciation to you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate you in every single way. We told both of these two guys last week, but you know what I mean? It's very important, and I just want to say again that, you know, it's very important, the things that you keep talking about and sharing, because people don't understand what a fire marshal is. They obviously hope to never see one, right? And when they do, it's probably not a good sign. But you know, I mean, it's something that maybe somebody does have a passion for the fire, and for the policing as well. And so it's sort of like the mix of the better and the, you know, the best worlds. And like Sergeant Clifton said, you know, there's always people that are retiring, and there's always somebody that is not only wanting to take wanting to take that person's place, but that someone you can teach what it is that you know, so that the Nevada State Police keeps continuing. So that's Sergeant Brochek's car.
It is. I was going to bring that up. That's Sergeant Brochek. He used to be, and a lot of people might know him by iMedia Trooper, right? Because he does all kinds of great photos. This Friday night, this last Friday night, I was out to dinner with my wife, and of course, get the call, fatal crash. This is the one that happened at 15 in Tropicana, unfortunately, and we had to shut all the roads
This
down.
is 5 now, right?
We're at 5 fatals, and it hasn't even been, this occurred before 10 days within the new year, and we've already had 5 fatals. It's ridiculous. The reason I wanted to put this up real shortly here, you know, when we have these major incidences where we block off major roadways, especially the 15, if it's shut down more than 15 minutes or 20 minutes, we have to contact the governor's office and let them know, because, you know, major commerce and people going, it creates a big problem. You know what I mean? Because we got to divert people off. People that are watching this, you can always go to Nevada State Police on X, which used to be like Twitter, and we'll put the road closings out there. So if there's big backups or you hear something, you can always go to the X site, and we put the most current road closures up there. This was for the fatal for that. And we also put up when they're open too. All the news stations monitor that, and they also call us, and we let them know when the fatals come out within the half an hour to an hour, and we send them all the information. They put it out on the news too. But that's just an extra site if they wanted to go.
I actually want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
My mom asked me this question.
Okay.
Oh,
I like
why
that.
didn't you
Question
send it
for
to
everybody
Trooper
today.
Talk?
Yeah.
Well,
Huh? If you have a
this is-
question, send it to Trooper
But
Talk.
the question is,
Yeah.
why can't you just leave one lane open on one of these fatal crashes?
Because as you know, being an officer, there can be evidence out in the roadways.
Yes.
So what we don't like, and I will tell the public, if you come up on a personal injury crash and there's a bumper over here and all this stuff, don't move anything, especially on fatal crashes, because we do speed workups. We take measurements from where everything flies, from the scenes, from the impacts of the vehicle, and it makes a difference in our investigations. And we also use our cars, and now we have modern technology where we have the drones and we can do 3D imaging and we can pretty much reenact the actual crash before it had happened and how the crash happens. And that our technology is getting so much better. But what we used to do is we used to measure the skid marks on the roadways and stuff that could be destroyed by opening in one lane or whatever, or we might have debris or certain stuff that needs to be cleaned up before we can even put that. Let's say like a simple oil spill went all on the roadway. We have to get that cleared up because if not, we're going to have more crashes, right? So we used to, if there were skid marks on the roadway, we'd have to have our cruisers away from the scene, drive fast and lay skid marks and learn, and this is the old way. I mean, I'm going back like 20 years to determine the speed prior to the crash. So now we don't even have to do any of that because of the technology has gotten so, and he could probably tell you in his field how technology is, it's ever advancing always, and it's getting better
So
all the
you
time.
drive and then you hit the brakes and you have to skid?
Yeah, and then what we'll do is measure and we could come up with the actual speed that they were going prior to the crash to the AOI where it actually occurred, right? So this is some of the stuff that we used to do 20 years ago. We don't have to do that. Now we have all this technology that lets us know by all the measurements and everything is a lot quicker. You know, we went from the Sokias, I think there was something else that we used before that. I'm talking old time when I used to have to hold the stick and we used to measure it and all that
When we
stuff
were in
out.
diapers, that would
Yeah. I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm just explaining like
Yes.
how technology has improved so much because, you know, everyone on our MATE, which is a major investigative, what is it now? MERT, yeah.
Major
Incident Response Team.
Yeah.
Every one of them are a drone operator, which is amazing. And so when they get on the scene, they'll put up that drone. The things that me and you would see when we take photos, and we used to use the old cameras, right?
Right.
Now we got all the digital
Now
and
they come
everything.
down this way.
So now they can see the entire scene, how it happened before. And like I said, they can put it the 3D image and show all that stuff before. But before, like 20 years ago, we had to take those straight on photos. And how technology has improved so much, it makes our job so much better. So, but I wanted to put this on here just to let people know that, hey, we had our 5th fatal crash, unfortunately. But if you ever want to look at, you know, road crashes that come up, we always have it on our X or former Twitter tweet on there.
When was that? About a year ago, they had that fire up on Buffalo that closed the 215.
The apartment building.
The apartment,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Was that
With
a
that-
homeless
with-
encounter
without-
that started it, or can you say, or do you know?
That is another jurisdiction's.
Okay,
primary,
never
and,
mind.
I was just going to say this
Yeah.
to you. I was just going to say this. Without getting into specifics on that, fire can close down roadways.
Correct.
And so what people have to be aware, which you touched on earlier, which was the brush, that we live in a place that is very dry. And so if you go out and I don't know what the law is on the Lake Mead and you know what I mean, like all that stuff, but like, you know, I'm sure that there are specific areas like when you go camping that say no burning fires, no open fires. I don't care that you want to roast marshmallows, you're not doing it, right? Setting a fire can have catastrophic consequences off of one match, right?
Correct.
Like, you know what I mean? So what people have to understand, and you touched on it, and I want you to explain to people, is that when it comes to fire, you may be able to control it, like you said, in your house, at a fire pit, in a whatever, an area that you have designated. But when it comes to the outside resources, this is not something that a person can control.
Correct. So the legal definition of a fire is an uncontrolled chain reaction, basically of oxygen, fuel, and heat. So people are used to containing their fire like on their stove. Those stoves are measured to a way where only a certain amount of gas comes out, and the fire can only get so big. Same thing in a charcoal grill. You have a heat-rated container around it that is meant to control flames and fire and things like that. and they think it's going to act the same way in the wild that it is acting in their normal day-to-day experience, and that's not how things work. When you have a campfire, if you've ever been around a campfire, I'm sure people have heard those logs crack, and they see little embers go spitting out of that fire because the wood wasn't maybe fully dried, or there's rocks can actually maintain water and heat too, and those things can shoot off of the fire, lodge themselves into debris, and cause wildland fires. And once a fire gets out of your controlled area, how many people walk around with a fire extinguisher in their hand? Very, very few. Even if it's nearby, depending on the dryness of that brush, it can go up very, very quickly. That you were trying to do your best. It doesn't care that you thought you were taking all the same precautions. Once it's going, it's a natural reaction. It's going to keep on going until something counters that reaction and stops it. So what I would say to people out there is that you have to be very cognizant. And when, like you already mentioned, the no burn days, depending on the burn moratoriums in different counties, those exist for a reason. There are wildlife officers that work for the game department and things like that that go out there and measure the moisture in plants to determine if it is safe to burn at this point in time. They're not saying it just because they don't like fire and they want to ruin your camping trip. Somebody's gone out there and said, this is a high risk period right now. We know that a wind front's coming through that's going to cause flames and campfires to be somewhat rowdy, and the risk is much higher. So when you violate those, not only could you be committing an arson, depending on the nature of it, you might be violating other local ordinances too. And it doesn't have to be just us. In a lot of jurisdictions, the fire department, depending within their fire district, can issue administrative citations on burning stuff, or criminal citations depending on what they have, depending on how they have been written into their city's statutes and things of that nature. Fire's tricky. Fire does what fire does. It's almost acts like a living thing. You give it leash and it's going to do what it wants to do. It's not going to do what you want it to do. It's going to do what it wants to do. So I just caution people to be careful out there.
One thing I'd like to add to, Neil, is working in a rural area, we have a lot of people used to burn a lot of trash. It's like not really trash, but they'll do like leaves, major stuff out there in the rural areas, even farmland where they'll put up everything. They all have to get a burn permit, and they have to go through whatever fire jurisdictions they have to get a burn permit prior to burning. You just can't pile everything up and say, hey, I'm going to burn it. You actually have to legally get a burn permit prior to doing that. And I just want people to know, and it happens so fast because I don't know how many times that we get so much dry brush when I worked in the rural areas. Yeah. A car pulls off on the side of the road, your mufflers are very hot. You can start just a little bit of brush on the side of the road before they leave, just pulling over shortly. And before you know it, you have an out-of-control fire where we've had to shut down the interstates before until we could get fire crews out there because it's too dangerous to let people to go down the interstate, because now not only was the fire on the one side, it's now jumped on the middle center medians because of the wind. And like you said, wind brings life into the fire. You know what I mean? That's a H2O making it even more powerful.
And that's we live in a city, but we have so many areas that are outside of the city. You know, like we were laughing and joking about how long it would take to a gas station, right? I mean, not to the supermarket, right? But like it's funny, but it's also very serious. You know what I mean? All you need is one person to not take what you do respectfully, and it can have catastrophic outcomes. And so it's very, very important. And so it's a great question from your mom. We have submit question on troopertalk.com. That is on.
I'm sure it's a question that everyone asks though.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is, it's very important. You know what I'm saying? And
so one thing we will tell your mom: the minute we can open 1 or 2 lanes, we do it every time. You know what I'm saying? Because we don't want to hold up traffic. Because the more we hold up traffic, guess what? Not because people get impatient and everything else, but it can cause more crashes down the road.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we want to open that traffic up and just keep it going, and we want people to get where they're going. The only reason we have to shut it down for a certain amount of time is because we have to collect evidence, or we have to get tows on scene. Sometimes these cars are blocking the roads where we can't open up one lane. You know, it's just too much of a risk. You know, especially when you go from here to Mesquite, you got 2 lanes on each side of the road, right? And we'd love to open up one lane, but sometimes semi trucks have to stay there because of the weight. Those soft shoulders, if the semi tried to pass on the soft shoulder, guess where they're going? It's going to roll over onto the side of the road. People just don't understand that. You know, there's weight factors. There's other stuff on the roadway, whether it's an investigation, because that's one of the reasons that we have to keep it shut down. We always want to open it up, even 1 lane, 2 lanes. If it's going to be hours, we try to at least get 1 or 2 lanes open.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, this was the grand reopening of Indian Springs Park that hasn't been around for it. Not much in Indian Springs, I will tell you this. That's out by Creech Air Force Base, a very small
How
community.
was the drive out there?
Yeah, it's a nice little drive out
Do
there.
you put the window down
What's that?
when you drive your car out there?
I didn't, but you know, I guess I could.
And you
But-
just cruise. Do you put on a certain radio station?
No. Well, I have a little bit. I listen to
I
a
mean,
little
do
bit
you
of radio
listen to
down there.
radio when you drive out there in your car? When you're just jamming along in a police car? You're like,
Well, I do have a little bit of music, but I got to listen to the radio, see what's going on with the guys. But last time when I was with Clifton going to that area, we had that rollover we talked about on the show right in front of us. I
right.
mean, it was right up ahead. So, but this was great. We had all the different law enforcement agencies out there. It was more for a community event, and it's kind of like a national night out. So I just thought I'd throw this in here. And they even had the FBI show up. I was shocked. So the FBI had a tent
the
out
director
there too.
called them and
Oh,
said,
wow.
you know
So,
what I mean? Send up my friends over there.
That's
You know what I'm
right.
saying?
So I just wanted to throw that up. That's,
This is the type of thing that I love because it shows Nevada State Police that they want to interact with people. They want to spend time. They want to do these type of things. They're very busy, right? But it's very important. You know what I mean? And so I love to see stuff of this nature. You know what I mean? And
especially in small communities.
no,
Because
it's-
this gives everybody time to connect with the people that actually
they don't get a chance to hang out.
yeah, with the fire department,
Right.
the police, and they get to ask questions. They get to be part of this and bring their kids for fun. I mean, they had a bunch of different stuff. They had a big bouncy house. I didn't get a photo of it. It was sat behind. They didn't get it up yet, but they were playing basketball. There was just different stuff that it was good for the community, and it was free food. They were giving out,
What did you eat?
hot dogs and all that stuff and everything.
So what did you eat?
Somebody brought me a couple pieces of pizza, and I did eat it. And I got in trouble for my wife because she stopped out to say hi. And
So
she
wait,
told
so-
me,
so-
she
so
told me
you're-
I ain't supposed to be eating pizza.
Wait, I
Dale.
want to know what happened. So what happened? Your wife shows up and you're eating the pizza, or
Well,
you
I
ate
just
it?
got done, and she goes, "Did you get something to eat?" Because she brought me a corn dog, which I was very shocked. You know what I mean? Because
okay.
they were giving free corn dogs too.
Uh-huh.
So she brought that to me, and I go,
And you're like, I'm
I
not
really
hungry."
don't need that because I already ate. And she goes, "What'd you eat?" And I go, "A couple pieces of pizza." You ain't supposed to be eating pizza right now. So I kind of got in trouble anyways. Damn if I do, damn if I don't.
Did
right?
you eat
So
the corn dog?
I did too. Later on. So, no, it was a good event, Neil. It's a good event.
Fantastic.
Now, this is what we do every so often, maybe every 3 months, usually when we have an academy going. This is called the NHP Legacy Luncheon. And we bring in those guys all sitting in the back there
Yeah.
are all retirees from Nevada Highway Patrol. And what's great about this is like a lateral academy that's going on. People that I think, is it a lateral one?
This is the new academy.
Oh, okay. This is
It's
one of our
both.
newer academies, but we do it for laterals too that come in. This is our new academy members that are going to be coming to the Highway Patrol. What they do is they sit across. They get pizza and it's a little luncheon, and a lot of these retirees get to tell you the benefits and how they enjoyed NHP and what things to look for and what to do in the future. You know what I mean? And how to go forth as being a trooper for the Nevada Highway Patrol because they survived it and they want to, they're part of the legacy and they get to kind of hand it down to the new guys. And for any of their questions they want to know, whether it's, hey, saving your money for, extra money for a 401k or whatever it may be, you're able to ask some of these retired troopers what it was like back then compared to now. and they'll help you along with what to look for and what not to, the kind of things that they saw in their career. So I think it's such a great luncheon that they can all get together. So I took a picture of all of them together on there. So
It's fantastic.
yeah.
Where do you see your career in 10 years?
The beach.
That's like just before retirement. I'm enjoying the state fire marshals right now. I hope to grow in more there. State fire marshal right now is doing a big push to. We've traditionally serviced the rural agencies. We've always been there for our local municipalities, like the metro areas. But there's a greater need for us in the rural parts. However, we are a part of several task force now. One with the FBI. Getting more involved within the local jurisdiction as well. So not only do you see us on arson scenes out in the middle of nowhere, we're trying to do a lot of stuff in the city. We do a lot of public education because we also have the fire marshals is not just the uniform guys, the law enforcement officers. We have inspectors, we have a civilian staff, we have licensing bureaus. The fire marshal's office actually covers a lot of great things, all for fire and hazardous material safety within the state of Nevada. And I'm enjoying it. I like what we're doing. I get to work with my best buddy every day, even if he doesn't listen to me all the time. But that's what makes him a good friend.
Right.
Hey, and since he brought that up, I do want him to kind of add on,
Yes. tell me.
because they're hiring too for in the future probably for some of these civilian jobs coming up. And if you're thinking about, wanting to be like a little bit of law enforcement, but you like to fire, a little bit
Yeah.
of combination of everything, the state fire marshals may have some civilian jobs coming up or different jobs that are available right through the state fire marshal.
Correct.
Right?
We have a lot of administrative positions that open up, and they get all kinds of things with the licensing bureau, with our inspectors bureau, with our training bureau. Also for specialties that people that may have coming from other departments that are looking for opportunities here to apply their relevant experience. If you have experience training fire people outside of other states, we have a training division where we hire training officers that actually go to the rural agencies and with here in town and train the fire departments. It's kind of interesting. We're a state police agency that holds certifications for fire agencies, but
Right.
it's something that we have jurisdiction over per NRS. Also, inspectors. We have inspectors that go and do all the fire safety stuff, the suppression systems, the sprinklers in buildings. There's a lot of opportunities over here that, depending on what your interests are, you can get involved with, and we are growing right now. So keep your eyes on the Nevada State job postings, and sometimes those position comes up and you might be able to get in.
He started with parole and probation.
He did.
You know him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
Yeah.
you can see that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You can see that interactivity, and now he does what he does. And some would say that by being in parole and probation, it made him a better person than he was, because he always carries that with him. You know what I mean? Just like being a state trooper, you know what I mean? And then sometimes you go over to a different department, you're always carrying these things. But one of the things that Nevada State Police does is that it gives you the best of the best no matter what it is that you ask for. If you need rifles, if you need equipment in the back, right? You need in your car, or whatever that thing is, the unmarked mobile. But you carry things that are relevant to what it is that you do.
I do.
You know what I mean? And so, you don't need to worry about all the things that he needs to carry, but you carry the things that you do. He carries the things that he does. And that's one of the benefits of the Nevada State Police, is that you get this take-home car, and it's yours.
Yep.
And so you're not switching out things all the time. And so that's something that's very important. On top of which, I said it before, and I will say it again, that within the 3 different areas that we have here, there are 3 different schedules. And that doesn't make one person better or worse. That just means that there's different people that want to do different things. And so one of the benefits that you have is the making of the schedule and, take-home car and all these things, and living on a little bit further on the outside, and you're able to come into work every day.
Right. Yeah. We each agency, well, each department in the agency, however that works out, has our own way we do things, right? Like a tool we may share is a Halligan tool, right? It's maybe some useful for me, useful for him. Maybe not so much useful for Hagstrom over there, because the Halligan tool breaks open doors, right? So you, like a house door, right?
Right.
Probably not going to need that at Highway Patrol, but at P&P, there has come times we need to break in doors, right? It does happen. It happened a couple weeks ago. I watched
Breaking the doors?
I watched an officer on body camera just this last Friday kicking a door several times to get in that door, and he could not get inside. Halligan tool would have broke it right open, right?
Because you have to get in.
Because we have to get in, right? This was, I know Hagstrom and I talked about it. It was 1 o'clock in the morning or something like that. What it was is the offender was on house arrest, and we got a band tamper alert. Band tamper is usually when you're cutting the thing.
Cutting it off.
Yeah. So
And the Highway Patrol was also assisting outside.
that is correct. So what happened was our 2 officers in the middle of the night got up, got dressed, went out to the house, knocked on the door. The offender enters the door and slams it in their face. Okay. So when we had evidence that there was a band tamper and we found the offender there, it's game on. We're going to try and kick that door, right? Unfortunately, we could not get inside the house. Have to send that off to the gym to get it work on his kicking skills. But yeah, so we needed to get in the house, right? A Halligan tool probably would have done that. Instead, we chose to back out. We called the Highway Patrol for assistance. They came out. We got the situation under control. They called them out on their PAs, and the offender surrendered himself. You know, in that situation,
Slam the door in the
slam the door in the officer's face.
What does he think's going to happen? That you're just going to go away?
I mean, at that point, we're going to do our best to see all the windows, see all the doors, make sure he doesn't try and run, right?
Right.
So we ended up basically surrounding the house, calling him out, getting him out, right? There was an exigency and urgency to get him out of that house because guess what? You're going to jail. If we get a band tamper alert on someone, that's generally going to be an arrest. That could be as simple as, I don't know, you ran into a door frame and you hit it the right way. Very uncommon. Usually it's someone, they'll have it on their ankle and they're trying to pull it off, or they're cut it, or they're fidgeting around trying to get it off, right? It happens. They can also, like we talked about last week, the band has little fiber optic wires in it, right?
Yeah.
And those all go to receivers on either side of the pack, and you can try and jimmy the pack open, and it's still going to give us an alert.
Yeah.
The second you start messing with it, we're going to get an alert because it's going to notice there's breaks in the wires, things like that. So we're going out and we're going to find you and we're going to arrest you.
This was very interesting.
And if we
I had
cannot
no
find
idea
you, we're going to
last
get a
week.
warrant for you. And if we get that warrant, we're going to extradite you, right?
Yep. All ties together.
It all ties together, yeah. And
Yeah.
add this too, I wanted to add this too. So with Bricky being former P&P, right? Like we share a radio system. If he's on my channel, right, and he hears the channel code, which is you get tones go
Yep.
off, right? He could easily come to us, right? And no offense to Hagstrom over there, but if I had both these guys respond and I need to search a house, I'm probably going to ask Bricky because he has the experience. I'm sure that Hagstrom has some experience in that too. Like he's been there, done that. He knows what I'm looking for with P&P, right?
Yeah.
So that's a good advantage. He can get there and help right away, right? Right away.
Because of the interactivity between
Yeah.
all these different departments. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? And it's just fantastic.
Mhm.
Yeah. I love it. You know whose dog that is?
I know whose it is.
I do not know that dog.
So
I've
that-
worked with
that-
a lot of dogs.
That is the
Tog
director.
dog.
That's Tagliatti's
That's
dog.
Tog Dog. Yeah.
That's his dog that passed away.
Oh no, I do know
And
the
when
story.
we had him
Yeah.
on here 3 weeks ago,
Kind of brought him down because
right?
he was excited to see the photo.
He was
though.
excited to see the photo, and then he
Yeah.
looked up and he said, "That's the photo that I did,
Yeah.
and that's the photo of the dog."
He loved his dog.
Director
Go ahead.
Tagliatti loves dogs.
Apply. Where do we go?
Yes, you know, if you've seen what you like here, and possibly, you know, we got somebody new in one of our divisions here, the State Fire Marshal. If you're thinking about being a trooper, or possibly on probation, go to NevadaStatePolice.com. We're always hiring. We're always looking for administrative too. If you're getting ready to get out of the military and you're looking at a job like this, we do have the bridge program, and we'll take you aboard 6 months prior if you want to come out that way. And we're always looking for laterals across the nation. If you worked in law enforcement, you're still working, and you want to come out where it's always sunny most of the time, and you want to get to this vibrant city of entertainment capital of the world here in Las Vegas. We're more than welcome to have you come out. We have lateral classes starting here in the future. And if you have any questions or anything, you can call Louis Villanueva. He's our recruiter right now. He'll be back in a couple more weeks or whatever on here, but we're asking
His
you to go.
feet are in the sand. Who are you kidding? You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
He might just stay out there. I
He
don't
does,
know.
you know what I'm saying? His
Yeah.
feet are in the sand right now. He's on one of those chairs that's sitting right on the beach or
Oh
something.
yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Aaron Doc or whatever they're called.
Right.
Yeah, go to NevadaStatePolice.com. We'd love to have you. If you want to do a ride along or even our administrative services, we have so many like the arrest desk. We have NHP dispatch. We're always looking for dispatchers. So if you always wanted to be in law enforcement, but you don't want to be a law enforcement officer and you want to be in like a civilian field and work for Nevada State Police, go to NevadaStatePolice.com. We'd love to have you check us out.
Yeah. Fantastic. We got to get you a picture with your dog right underneath Trooper
Yeah,
Hagstrom.
Charlie on there.
Make it happen.
You know what I'm saying?
One day we'll have all the dogs on there.
Right.
I think I need to be up there too.
Listen, I agree.
Just give me a pile of fur.
We need to get the Mustang picture up there.
Yeah, we do.
Trooper Hagstrom, sir, I appreciate you coming. You know what
Not
I
a
mean?
problem.
Like it means so much to us. We learn so much. You know, and it means so much to us, and then to Trooper Hagstrom, it really means so much because he works every single week to try to get somebody else that's new to showcase the department and all that type of stuff. And so, you know, thank you again. Okay.
Not a problem. Pleasure to be here.
Sergeant Clifton, are you here next week again, or is he on
believe
vacation?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still on vacation.
Still on vacation.
This guy is on vacation 3.5 weeks. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it very much. Okay. All right, let's
You know.
wave right here, and we'll wave goodbye.
Come on.